Good evening. How's it going, guys? It's Sunday, which means it's Wicked Women. How are you doing? Lovely to see so many people in the chat room building up. So it's good to see you all. Hello, how are you? A Wicked Women is never late. We arrive precisely on time. You're absolutely right, Steve. We absolutely do. It is yet again a sort of wet, sort of cold London night, and it's just like horrible. But there you go. The good thing is that we're here to brighten up your evening, especially if you're in the nighttime. For those that are watching in Mountain Time or from Central, Eastern, how's your afternoon going? Is it going well? How's your weekend been? It's been a bit of a difficult weekend with everything that's going on in over there, but we're here to sort of brighten up your day. I'm going to talk about some changes at the end of the show, but at the moment we're just going to get on with the show. But there are changes coming, and they're always exciting. They're always exciting, aren't they? So I have my lovely podcaster hubby, my second one. Well, he'd say he's the first, actually, which is my very handsome partner in crime, Michael from Virginia, who I'm going to bring on in a minute. And I'm sure he's going to look fabulous because I saw him just before and I was like, "You're looking hot, babe." And he was like, "Oh, thank you very much." So let's get on with the show. Let's bring the lovely Michael in. How you doing?
Oh, sweetie, how are you? No, we've only got some good weather here. We're like 65, sunny outside. So, I'm ready for spring. It's been a long, dark winter. There's always turmoil going on in the world. All I think I do is turn on the news and you'll see it.
Yep.
So we are here to brighten your Sunday when the world is going to shit. Well, you're beacon of hope, the lighthouse out there on Sunday to brighten your day.
We are. And as I'm saying, we're going through a lot of changes in Wicked Women, and we're trying lots of different things, and there's a little new banner we're trying out, which I think is so pretty. Why are we hiding it behind? It looks really pretty as it is, but yes, there's lots of changes coming up which will be happening in the next couple of weeks, and I'll talk about it at the end. We'll talk about it at the end. Anyway, let's get down to the show. Let's bring us back on. And our lovely show tonight is You Chose Them. And there's a couple of reasons why I'm talking about this today. I was chatting to someone a while ago, a gentleman, and they said to me, "Do you have any male friends?" And I said, "I do, thank you. I have some really good male friends." And they were like, "I don't like that. I don't agree with women, girlfriends having male friends because they're probably going to sleep with them or they've slept with them or they want to." And I was like, it is 2027 coming up. We're in 2026. And I'm sure as 2028 and the rest of the years go by, it's probably more modern these days. And he was like, no, it's definitely one of those things. If you've got male friends, you're either going to sleep with them or something's happened. And I said, I have to tell you, I haven't slept with any of my male friends. And he was like, oh, okay. And it made me start thinking about, he said that when he got with his girlfriend, he asked her to give up all her friends. And she did. And I thought that was really not on at all. Unless you have a toxic friend that's causing loads of problems and you need to address that, you shouldn't give up your friends for anyone. And it brought back a situation in my life that I have been through in the last couple of years, which you're aware of, Michael. And, the truth is, do we ever really know someone? Do you think you know someone, but do you ever really know someone? You can know their history, you can know their habits, what they take in their coffee, you can know their past and the stories they've told you, how they laugh, how they cry. You can know them for absolutely years, which I, been there, done it and ticked it off. And then there are moments, split-second moments, where something happens and suddenly you don't recognize the person in front of you, whether it's a friend, friends, partner, lover, family. They not because they changed overnight, but because something has surfaced in them that we've never seen before. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I've saw that. Sometimes it's like, just because you know somebody, do you really know somebody? That could be a trigger that happens in their life. And the situation you're talking about is we got to say in thick as thieves. You see one, you see the other. You know, all of a sudden somebody new comes into their life, and it seems like they choose them over past relationships and friendships. And it's like, wow, I thought I knowed you. And you start going down the pros and the cons of the friendship in your case. It's like, well, you know, that's really cool to me. You know, they really looked after me. But am I so easily disposable that she could just throw me away because she has a new, you know, blood in her life or whatever? And you look at them, you think, is it some kind of underlying issue that they just have issues that they can abandon everybody in their previous life to get with this new person? And it seems like that becomes their whole new identity. And you know, and it's really shattering to the friend who is left behind. You know, because you're you know, you're left wondering and thinking, did I do something wrong? Does this new person not like me? Do they see something that I don't see? And it actually opens up more questions and, you know, answers. Then when they kind of ghost you, you do not have the outlet to find the answers that you're looking for.
I get you, because, you know, there was someone incredibly close to me, who I'd known for many, many years. And, you know, on the phone every day, talking every day, videos, shared everything of our life together. And they were the massive part of my life. They were the rock in so many ways in my life. And then there were changes, I guess, in their behavior. There were changes in their perhaps loyalty, the way they responded, the way they spoke, the way that you think, oh, hang on a minute, they normally respond like that, and now they're responding like this. I started to see that, and then, you know, you perhaps put it down to maybe they're tired, maybe they've got this going on, maybe it's this, maybe that. And I always say when a friend changes towards us, it hurts more than a partner, because with a friend, we have put so much into that relationship, that the thing is, no, we didn't just lose a person, we lost a version of reality. Now, we have a story that we tell ourselves when we meet someone and we spend time with them and we learn to love them and be with them. We have a story which is like, I know this person, I know this about them, I know how they are, I know how they're going to be. And the next thing you know, the person is actually unrecognizable. And I watched the person who I loved very, very much, very, very close to me. I love them very, very much. And I still love them, even though I don't see them. But I really hurt because they met someone, and they gave up everybody, all their friends, ex-partner, everything. And number was changed without any kind of conversation, without any kind of explanation, gone. And that's when you realize is that who are you to them? That all the history, as I said in the promo, history can mean nothing when someone comes along and changes their reality and them.
The pictures I saw the other day, it don't even look like the same person. It's like they are something totally different. That if you met them now, you would not recognize them with the old person. It's really sad when people do that. You know, when they just like change everything. And like I said, you know, she chose him, and her whole world. It's like I got a friend. She bought a Jeep. She went from whatever. Now she's a Jeep girl. Her whole personality, Instagram, Facebook, everything is all about Jeeps. It's like, damn, you didn't even know nothing about a Jeep. She bought one accidentally. And, you know, and that become her whole perceived reality is around Jeeping. And I'm like, Dave said, speak up. I can speak up, Dave. But But that's like, I tell people when they watch Wicked Women that they see a version of us that's on the camera,
Yeah.
and they choose to watch us, which I'm incredibly thankful and amazed too that somebody would want to hear me speak for 2 hours. And my kids don't even listen to me for 2 hours. They never listen to me. The dogs listen to me occasionally. But no, it is just really weird, but we do choose our friends, we choose our partners, we choose our lovers, and different things in life. And sometimes, you need to get down to the underlying psych part of it in the mind. Why do I choose this person? I see, well, I'm not talking about this, but anyway, I keep seeing one. And the women that he picks to bring into his life, I think he could do better. And I don't know if it's a mama issue, confidence issue, or just, lack of thinking issue. And I spoke to him about it, and he just shrugs his shoulder and walks off. So,
but is that the fact that we have a view of how someone should be, or what we think they should be? Because when someone makes a decision to walk away from friendships or a relationship, and we'll come to the relationship side of it, when someone tends to walk away from a friendship, the knife, if you're that close to them and you've known them for so many years, that knife is betrayal. It feels like someone shoved your knife in and twisted it around, and you're actually like, I do not recognize the person I know in front of me. And you actually say to them, I don't know you anymore. And I actually he says, turn your mic up just a tad. And it's
okay,
like, I remember having that conversation saying, I don't recognize you anymore before this actually happened. What's happened to you? And they were like, I've changed. I'm not the same person anymore. But I guess maybe I hadn't seen them change. I had seen them, but I hadn't seen them because my view was still of the person I've always known, the one I've always loved, the one I've always cherished. And it's like, here's the question. We only meet the truth of somebody when circumstances force them to be either loyal or confrontational. So for instance, if you've got a friend and they've always had your back and the shit hits the fan, and that friend starts to go the other way when they've always been here, having your back, you're like, what the hell? You've always been there. And the thing is, I don't believe they changed. I don't believe they changed too much. What I believe is the circumstances in their life changed. And people come into our life and they're very good manipulators. I mean, that's the thing. Let's look at relationships now before we go back to friendships. How many relationships have you and I talked about in the past?
Oh, tons and tons.
And they're very manipulative. They don't start off being manipulative. They're like, oh, I love you. You're amazing. You're great. I love you just as you are. Everything's really, really great and everything. And the next thing you know, there's a little comment and a little tweak here. And the next thing you know, you start to think something completely different. I mean, manipulation is so easy.
It is, and it's not like big wholesale changes. It's little micro aggressions. Same with people in your life. They don't just wake up one day and totally do a 360 or a 180. It's just like the little bitty things. It's just little bitty notches here and there. And sooner or later, all the little tweaks and notches add up to being, wholesale change. And a lot of times I think that is why we're blindsided by it, because it's not happening all at once. It is, gradually, and it just keeps building up until the dam busts. Then you look at it, it's like, holy shit, where did the old you go? I chose you because you was this type of person. And now your personality has kind of gradually changed over the years. And like I said, the picture I saw the other day don't even look like the same person that you showed me 4 years ago.
Because I just to bring that point in, if you really love someone, I would never have given them up, and I'll say them. I would never have given them up for anyone else. I would never, if a partner had come in my life and said blah, 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 there's nothing or no one that would have made me give up. So then you have to question your relationship with them. You know, were they invested as much as I was invested in the relationship? Because, you know, what I've discovered in life, Michael, is that it isn't always a new person who hurts us. It's someone we had history with, a friend who knew our past, our childhood stories, maybe a family member, and that's something we'll come to, who watched us grow up. Or maybe it was someone we fell in love with who knew our fears and our deepest secrets, and held our hands. And we believed, and this is the bit that really comes home to me, we believed they were part of our emotional home. This person was my rock. This was my emotional home. This would be the person I ran to and said, you know, everything to. They knew me inside out. And the next thing you know, I thought they were safe. I thought my friendship and my relationship was safe on both sides, and it was cherished. And that's what it makes it so devastating, because when a stranger hurts you, it hurts you enough. But when someone that's been in your life for so long, Michael, changes in a way that you never imagined they do, when their behavior no longer matches the person you knew and trusted, and when they choose something or someone else, the bond you thought was unbreakable, which I did, it's a complete shock, and I never saw it coming.
No, and some of it is the betrayal that blindsides you adds another shock into it, and you go back and you start thinking, was they signs before this happened? This is the person that I confided in. This is the person who knows where, you know, where they say where the bodies are buried. They know your deepest, darkest secrets that you don't want to get out, that you only trust with a handful of people. And next thing you know, they're gone. Then you start thinking, everything that they know about me, is my secret still safe with this person? Do they still, you know, do they still have the confidence to keep everything that we talk about in confidence, you know, just between, you know, me and this person? And it brings in another set of doubts. Why did I tell this person this? You know, why, why would I risk telling my deepest, darkest secrets to someone else? Because the last person I shared them with, you know, kind of, you know, fucked off. And now it's like leaving the bank door open. You know, you got to be careful who you give the keys to your vaultest secrets, because you never know when they're going to meet somebody new, or somebody's going to come breeze into their life that's maybe a better friend, so they think.
The manipulator.
That's it. And it's like, I cannot believe that I give this person this much power over me. And once you give it, you cannot take it back. Because, you know, what do they say? Once the horse is out of the barn, you know, you're kind of the ways of the wind on, and you hope they stay around. Like you said before, sometimes people come into our life.
Yeah.
For a reason, a season, you know, forever.
Lifetime.
A lifetime. And you never know. But the person you're talking about, I thought you was a package deal. Take one, you take both, you know. And it turned out you're still the law friend. They have totally changed. So, you know, anything I would tell you is that it's not on you. You held your end up. It's them that kind of shagged it off.
But you know, the thing is about, we don't know when we meet someone that they're what's the word? Svengali, manipulator. We don't know that. We meet someone and we're like, oh my God, I've met this person. They are so cool. I'm really into them. We talk all hours. They make me feel brilliant. I feel amazing. You know, they can't get enough of me. I can't get enough of them. And, you know, it looks really fantastic. And we don't know this person, you know, this person's a manipulator at that time. So what we tend to do is that we tend to go, oh, you know, which is exactly what happened. I've met someone amazing. They were there all the time. You know, she couldn't talk in front of them, had to be careful what was said. And you just sort of think to yourself, a man or a woman that comes into someone's life and slowly starts to manipulate, whether it's emotional blackmail, emotional manipulation, is dangerous. And let's have a look at a manipulator. Like sometimes somebody pushes you to give up your friends. It's rarely about the friends. It is about control disguised as closeness. So for instance, I want you to stop seeing them. I don't think they're good for you. They don't respect our relationship. I want to focus on us. I don't want anyone else in our life. Let's just have us. Let's just be me and you. Put all the past behind, move on, fresh, slate and everything. Why do you need them when you've got me? And if you're a woman or a guy who maybe has been searching for somebody who's going to make you feel amazing and $1 million and everything like that, it can sound quite romantic.
I tell people, what a lot of people forget, the chemicals that you have in your body when you first meet somebody that gives you the little twitch in the pit of your stomach,
yep.
The little goosebumps. And sometimes them chemicals override common sense of the friend that has been there with you through thick and thin, that's held your hair, when you're sick after a night of drinking, or, picked you up the next morning and helped clean you up, or don't judge you when you come in from the walk of shame, and it's like, the next thing you know, this person comes in and they're like, oh, that's just a placeholder. I've got you now. And you got all them emotions and all the chemicals, I tell people, we are biological beings. And you're like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe all these other people was bad for me. Maybe they was just holding in place until Mr. Right or Mrs. Right showed up. And you're like, damn, what am I, chopped liver now? I'm the one who's
I think it's an insecure person.
It is.
And there's a lot of history about, I was watching a program yesterday about Jane Andrews, who was the Duchess of York's dresser back in the 80s, 90s. And she comes from a very complicated background. She's a fascinating character to look at, very complicated background. She ended up killing her partner, very toxic, whatever. But she was a very insecure woman. And she would get into circumstances and situations where she'd be like, well, when are you going to show me this? When are we going to get married? Why do we need to be around your friends? Why can't it just be us? Because sometimes when you're so insecure and you might just be of the belief, I don't want all your friends around because your friends might turn you against me, or your friends might turn around and go, what are you doing that for? And some of us were saying that, what's happening here? Take it back, because in the end, you shrink your world until they're the center of it. And then what happens when they're the center of your world and there's nothing going on around it? They've got you lock, stock and barrel. And maybe they like it that way.
And that goes back to another show that we was talking about, why do broken people choose strong people? I'll put it like that. And sometimes people need that gravitational pull to keep them floating. They need somebody that kind of controls their day. This is what and I've seen men like it. Their wives pack their lunch. They lay their clothes out. Here's your socks and underwear. Have you took a shower today? Here's your lunchbox. Not take your ass to work, and when they come home, and that's what goes back to what I said. Men are pretty trainable. I always said behind a successful man is probably a very strong, independent woman that keeps his ass directed in the right way. And that's what I said, and people like that, I always say, they choose somebody that can keep them inside of the buffer, have guardrails. And some people need that, men and women. But I have seen, and it's almost like a surrogate mother, but if it's for these guys, and I think of, I'm like, every man wants a woman like his mother, and you seem like you choose that type of person. And like I said, they laid their socks, their underwear out, they make sure they comb their hair, brush their teeth, And well, honey, it's about 9:30. You got to be up early. Time to go to bed. And they're like, okay, but they want somebody to have that kind of, and that becomes the center of their universe. Which, in situations like that, it probably ain't bad. But you know what I'm saying? Some people need the hands-on stuff. Yeah. But if you're manipulated into that kind of situation, and somebody that I won't call it a repeat offender, that you've seen the process through life, that they pick the same kind of weak people, that they can come in and make them the center of their universe. The next thing you know, the carnage they leave behind, because after they leave, this person's going back looking for their old friends. They're like, hey, dude.
And they're gone.
They're gone. And the ones who are still around, like, no, dude, you're a prick. I don't want to hang out with you.
That's the danger. You have a good point there, Michael, because if you give up all your friends, yes, you can always make new ones. Of course you can. And if you have toxic friends, of course, I'm not saying you have to keep your toxic friends. Maybe you need to like, but what you shouldn't do is that what happens if this relationship fails? What if it absolutely fails and they leave you for someone else, or it just fails and you've given everything up for this person and you've got nothing else, to fall back on, and people are going to go, told you, or they're going to look at you like that because a new partner, and we're going to come to the family in a second, but because the new partner can feel threatened by someone who's got history, loyalty, who's very independent. That's another thing I've noticed talking to some people in the last couple of years. If you say you're an independent woman, well, I don't like two independent women because they don't want us to do anything, and we feel like we're not useful. And I'm like, it's not meaning that. It's not meaning we don't want you in our lives to do things. It just means we've had to be independent.
A lot of times people confuse independent with feminism, and there's two totally different ones. And this is kind of off, but everybody's always bashing like the passport bros. But the reason they go to a lot of these countries, the women are more feminine and they look and dress like women. And that's what, men like me want. I don't know about the rest of them, but you know what I'm saying? I want a woman who wears a dress, puts on the heel, does her makeup. And she's not trying to be one of the boys and hang out with me. I got guy friends if I want to have a beer, And I tell them, it's a strong, independent woman does not mean that she does not have the same core values as you do. She's just had to take care of herself. And she's probably very resourceful. And like I said, I've got screens all around me. I don't want to start calling this, you had the Wicked Women's Studio and the Captain's Cabin. This is going to be the command center because I want to know what's going on. But anyway, so I'm sitting here and I'm watching, and I see people who are oppressed or whatever. Oh, you can't go out without a man on your hand, or you got to cover your hair or your face. There's going to be a lot of independent women that has come out of this situation who's going to be very good for a male partner because she knows how to get shit done. And that's how I look at it. When I hear strong, independent woman, I don't think, well, she don't want me to open the car door for her. She don't want me to pull her chair out. I'm thinking this woman has probably had to take care of herself for a very long time.
Yeah.
And she's going to be very appreciative when she don't have to do it all by herself. I know that's kind of one of them things. But like I said, I've been thinking about this for a while because my grandmother was very much a lady, but she was very strong. She would beat your ass, while cuddling a grandkid. She didn't care, but she had to be. Her husband, from what I hear, wasn't that great of a businessman, wasn't that great of a farmer, kind of lazy. So she had to do it. I don't know why she chose him. Back then, it was probably to get out of the house because they didn't have no choice. When you got a certain age, if he wasn't married by 16, they considered you an old maid. And he probably had a house that she could go to. That's why she chose him. But it made her very strong because she left one bad situation to another one. But, modern days now, I don't know why we pick these people for because
you bring up
search anybody and it brings up their whole history. Look at their Facebook profile. What they posted, Instagram.
You can't hide it because it's on social media there. But you bring up a good point about women back in the day. we weren't encouraged to be independent. We were like, a woman knows her place, and that's wife and mother and you know, it was very, very different. And so then come along, 50s, 60s, 70s going into that area. And even now, women are still fighting to be. There are women around the world desperately wanting to be independent and have their own life, and not being able to actually have that kind of life because they're surrounded by men predominantly who are threatened, and whether it's religious, whether it's cultural, whether it's because they have that disposition. Because I've been there and I've dated people like this. So like this. Here's a couple of examples. So you're going out, are you? Yeah, I'm just popping out with the girls. How long are you going to be out for? Just a little while. Just a little while. You're wearing that, are you? Yeah, bit short, isn't it? What, you're on the pole? Are you after a new man? And you're like, what? And the next thing you know, you're going out for that evening and it's completely ruined because the person that you love has said that. There's one. So they sulk when you go out and make you feel really bad. The next one.
You've got a part of the trip over it.
Yeah, you got a plan. You're going out. You've arranged it for weeks. You've told them, I'm going out. This is what's happening. And then just before you go out, or the day it's happened to happen, they'll start an argument with you about something. They'll pick an argument about you and you're like, what, we're doing this now? Yes, we're doing it now. Because they don't want you to go out. Or if you do go out, they want to really ruin your evening for you or your time. And then the next thing is, well, you don't really love me then if you're doing that. Obviously, I'm not good of you. Obviously, you'd rather be with them. It's all that kind of manipulation. And eventually it feels easier to cancel going out with the girls and spending time with them, because then they're happy. Then they're all over you. Then they start feeling really good. And you're like, yeah, you're
because they think they've won. That's what it is. And it's the same way. I've heard women say, if you go out that door to go fishing with your buddies, we're done. I'm like, bitch, see you in a boat. It's like, but they always like, oh, you'd rather go drink beer with Bob, Fred, and George. This ain't with me. Well, Fred, Bob, and George ain't nagging me 24/7, and sometimes you might need a break. But I've heard so many people say that. Boy, if you walk out that door, I'm like the guy on the internet. I'll crawl out the window, say, hey, honey, I didn't leave by the door. I went out the window. Kiss my ass, I'll be down there with a bathroom buddy.
But I mean, in my situation, looking back, I just, because obviously we're mainly talking about people we know, whether this is partners, and we've not even got to the family. But the thing is, you trust the version of them that you've always known. And all of a sudden, when they start becoming cold or they disappear, self-serving, or they start hurting you in ways that is completely out of character, your mind goes, hang on a minute, this is someone I love, but this is someone I know. This has happened to me with more than one friend, more than one female friend. And I've never had it happen with me with some people that I've grown up with who have known me for years. And I've got a female friend I've known since I was 5. Never, ever, ever, ever had that issue. And also, I've never had it with my male friends. Never happened. It seems to predominantly be, in some ways, I don't know what guys are, and I'm going to ask your experience in a minute of a guy friend, but I think it's predominantly with women friends that this can happen. And the hardest thing for me was to admit, this is someone who's capable of breaking me. And it did. And it isn't the hardest part, what they did. It's the fact that we never believed they would. And because you love someone so much, and you think they'll never do that to me, they're not that kind of person, until suddenly you realize that the person we thought would never hurt us doesn't become someone new. We just meet, as Rapid, I think, put in there, we just meet a part of them that we never knew existed before. This is the part that's new, because let's look at that part. Maybe they wanted to change. Maybe when they met this person, they wanted to go down that road and they wanted to give everything up. I mean, there's always that opportunity, right?
Yeah. But with I would, and I try to not sound like a, male toxic, but a lot of times, even in the army, I saw if you had more than a group of like 3 or 4 women together, you had a cluster of problems. Because, and I've always said, women are a whole lot more meaner than men to each other.
Sadly.
And even with nurses, and like I said, my ex-wife's a nurse. I asked her, I said, why are you so mean to the new girl for? Well, she needs to learn. And, and I got in trouble when I said, well, maybe you need a fucking teacher. You know what I'm saying? She ain't going to learn by you. Because there's a saying in nursing, they eat their young. That's the reason it's so hard for them to make it. So I can actually know where you come from. Women are really hard on the other women. Most time when guys hang out together, we're just happy to be out of the house. We're just happy to have somebody that, like I said, to have a drink with that don't judge. It's like, hey, you want to go fishing? Sure. How long you know him? About 4 minutes. We're best friends now. We both got a boat and a fishing pole. And it's easy. And men most time, you got your trauma bonding friends. I call them, all of my army buddies, because we went through the same suck, and lifetime friends. But and we know each other has faults or whatever, but we're not going to go down the road and saying, hey, Michael's got a drinking and a woman problem. I cannot believe that. Most of them they're like, oh hell, he's going through some struggles. We have to be there around him. He's probably going to have a good time later.
Did you have a friend that you lost due to a woman coming or a partner coming into their life?
My best friend in the world, the only thing I ever asked his wife to do, I said, he's big. I said, he's a big old teddy bear. I said, he kind of speaks rough. I said, just don't never hurt him and me get to him. And they've been married for 20 some years. And I have to say that Marilyn has done exactly what I asked her. I said, take care of my big friend. And she does. And they always say you marry somebody like your best friend. She's just like me. She's off the rails. She never quits talking. Or Alan married a woman just like his best friend. That's just wide open. And
you haven't had a friend that's done it to you then?
No, and I always say, he's been a better friend to me because, poor man goes to church. I could call him at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, down here, I can't drive home. He'd be like, well, just don't get arrested. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I might get chastised on the way home, but he's going to come pick me up. And like I said, true friendships are hard to find in this day and time.
And you know what? They're worth their weight in gold. They're worth their weight in gold. They really are, because at the end of the day, like I had an example happen to me like years ago. I was going to a birthday party, and they weren't coming, and they were so awful before I left that it ruined the whole night, because I felt, and I knew I had to go home to it. That was the other thing, is I knew I was going home to it, and so. Like, oh my God, I hope they're in bed. And then you go in and there's a silence, and, because then you might notice comments from your partner going, they'll talk about your friends and they'll go, well, they just don't want to see you happy, or they're a toxic friend, or they're emotionally manipulative, or they're jealous. They're jealous that you've met someone and who loves you so much. And it's like they, the one that I find is they've got an agenda. They've met someone and there's agenda. Now, the thing is, and I'm going to say this for the record, if you meet someone new and you fall in love with them, fabulous. But if that person tries to get you to get rid of your friends, or change your number so your friends can't call you, or block all your friends on social media, here's a tip. Ask yourself, why are they doing that? Why are they saying it's me or them? Why are they saying you got to start everything fresh? Why are they saying, put the past behind you or whatever you know? And why are you allowing them to do it? Is there a part of you that actually realizes those friendships of all those years you've outgrown? You don't want any more. They don't mean anything to you anymore. You don't need them. And it's like, I've got this amazing partner come into my life and they fulfill every single area. I don't believe that. I don't believe one partner can fulfill every single area of your life, because you have many different compartments in you, and you have to have some that only you fulfill, some that they fulfill, and other parts of your life does. But maybe you're at a point in your life where you're easily to be manipulated. Maybe you're run down, maybe you're low, maybe something major's happened in your life. Maybe you thought, oh my God, this is the person of my dreams, the woman I never thought I'd meet, the man I never thought I'd meet, and suddenly they're in my life. And you know what will happen is they will what they'll do is they'll love bomb you, they'll make you feel amazing, they love you so much, everything's wonderful, you look gorgeous, you know, can't wait to see you, can't wait to talk to you. And then what happens is, when you do something that they don't like or they disagree with, or someone else comes along and goes, well, I was talking to Wendy the other day and she said this. Really?
Yeah.
And then what happens is they withdraw their warmth, and you go, hang on a minute, what's going on? And they withdraw it. And then when you come back into line, they start giving it to you. And then if you're out of it, so love equals guilt, okay, warmth equals withdrawal, and connection can be conflict. Friends are stress, partner this makes me feel good. So you end up making a choice. But I don't believe, and this person I know used to say, you've got a beautiful heart, you're a strong, independent, beautiful woman. So were they. They did not need to give everything up for this partner, but they chose to. And maybe they are happy. And if they are happy, that's wonderful. But somehow, somewhere, one day, at one point, something will come along and you just wish you will have that phone call to pick up and go, oh, you know, my friends are gone, because you've actually alienated everybody that once loved you, alienated, and they're not going to be there when you come back, because you've broken the trust, you've broken the bond, right?
And when I hear that, I think of the old adage, the stick and the carrot. Either you get the carrot to make the horse go, or you give it the stick. And, you know, and it's like learned pain, like growing up. Oh, don't touch that. That's hot. Sooner or later, you figure out you don't want to touch that. Then you have to back up. And it's the same way. It's almost like they train them like a new pet. The same way I train the dogs here to be good. If they're good, they get a treat. If they're bad, they get the pool noodle. Which everybody says, oh, what are we going to do with that? But anyway, I think it's more or less the sound of it, like a newspaper. And they basically train their partner. Oh, your friends are horrible. It's about like I've trained the dogs. Don't run out the door when somebody opens the door. And you know, and if your friends come by, and you know it's going to be shit for hours or days or weeks, if you're unlucky, you can be like, oh no, because you know you don't want the newspaper, you know, and they conditionally train somebody, like I said, but it don't happen all at once. The people who have the agenda that are not,
it's a slow.
It is a slow process, and and I've always said everybody has an agenda. Some are bad, some are good. You know, that's like my agenda. My agenda every day is to get up and have the best day I can.
And why wouldn't a new partner, or you know, why wouldn't a new partner want your friends to see how happy you are? Wouldn't want your friends to be part of your happiness? Why wouldn't you want your friends to see how happy you are and be part of your happiness? That's a healthy thing. A healthy relationship will encourage you to have healthy relationships, but it might not be their version of healthy, right? That's the thing is, and also what they do is they remove your support system. So they'll start to remove your support system, and they might go, you can be friends with that person, that's fine. Or perhaps you can be friends with them because they'll agree with that relationship, they'll agree to it, or it's suitable. But if they got someone that you don't like, God forbid you have male friends, or, you know, or female friends in some ways, they remove witnesses, because healthy love expands your world, control narrows it. And it's the same in families, Michael, because let's be honest, our family can be very manipulative, can't they?
Absolutely. It's like, and you know, and I think of, you know, they say, you know, it's like the little girl show up to their mom and dad said, you know, I want to be a rodeo rider. No, you're gonna be a lawyer. Oh, I want to be an artist, or I want to make underwater basket weaving. Oh no, you have to be a doctor. And you know, and mom and dad, you know, always tells these people, this is what you got to do. But I'm artistic. I don't want to do that. Well, it don't matter. Or like even, and Lord forbid if a kid has like a phobia of blood or something like that, and the family business is a butcher business. No, I want to go work for PETA. I want to go plant flowers. I want to change the world. Nope, you're a butcher. Got to cut meat. Got to wrap meat. So Mrs. Jones, her pork line. And I think a lot of times kids like that never had a choice because their parents told them, if you want to learn this, I'll pay for it. And they use money and financial, what is it? You're held hostage to their financial well-being.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a song, Johnny was a race car driver. The only reason Johnny was a race car driver was because mommy and daddy probably told him he could back then, because, that stuff costs money. And when you're first coming into adulthood, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your ass, you're broke. So you're kind of at the whims of parents, grandparents, siblings. If you got older siblings that could probably help you out to kind of go after your hopes and dreams. But I have heard that so much, Well, what did you want to be? Well, I really want to be a painter, but dad said I had to be a lawyer, or dad said I had to be a doctor.
Or you meet someone and you bring them home, and your parents go, "You can do better than that." Well, maybe you can, and maybe you can. Or, like, for instance,
I'm guilty of that one.
I can use an example. When I got married, a member of my family, who will remain nameless, but the member of my family said to me, why are you marrying someone from another country? Like, why? You belong here. This is your home. Why are you doing this? And I'm like, is that what you really believe? That I belong here? Because there's a huge world out there, and this is just a very small part of it. And what I didn't realize at the time, because I thought they'd be happy for me, but what they actually were was what it was going to do to their life, not having me around, that I wasn't, there to be there for them. And in some ways, not jealousy, but they were like, how dare you go and do this? Because what am I going to do without you now? And even when I talk about immigrating now, there's certain parts of my family, certain parts not of my family, that go, what am I going to do without you? How am I going to cope? And you feel that
it's so small now. What is it? 800 pounds. If you really want to see me that bad, come up with that. Get on an airplane. It's not like, we're trying to relocate you to Mars. You know what I'm saying? That's an 18-month trip. What is it? 11 hours from Heathrow to Charlotte International or Richmond or somewhere like that, or DC Dallas. Yeah, or it's probably quicker than that if you get a direct flight. And I tell people the world has got very, very small. And that's still what kills me. I see people pick people with such a small world view. It's just not, as far as that, it's like, the world don't end at the Bristol, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee state line. No. And I told people, I grew up in a little area. It's called Jasper Creek. I grew up on a creek, believe it or not, with this accent, right? And we had all these little communities. And I look back now, some of the farthest places these people went was through the other little communities. And I tell them, well, I got on an airplane and flew here. Ain't no need of that. See everything I want to see right here. But, and they choose people with the same worldview of, I don't need to I don't need to ride no airplane. If the Lord wanted me to fly, he'd build me.
I got everything you need. Why do you need to go abroad? Why can't you stay in England? Or why this town? It's very much small town, small minds. And then the other thing is, you have the parent that criticize you. Nothing you do is right. And it's like, what are you doing it like that for? Haven't I taught you better?
I got that from my dad.
You really stupid? Or you're ironing something. Give it here, I'll do it. You've got, they put you down.
Yeah, you always screw it up. Just give it here. Let me do it right. But even my dad, when I joined the Army, most parents would have been extremely happy. Look, he's bettering himself. He's going to get a way to get out of the small area with all the small problems that small town areas have. And once you get a name for yourself or get on the police radar or something or other, I'm not going to lie. I was an asshole growing up. You know what I'm saying? I had some growing pains. And I figured the only way out was to join the army and get away and meet new people in my life. And I remember I went home and told my mom and dad. My mom was crushed. She's like, "Oh, Michael, he's just dumb enough to run towards something's going to get him hurt." And I remember my dad was like, "Hope you get what you want. You get it now." And I thought, where's that a boy or a pat on the back? It's just like, but it was almost like he could not stand to see that I was doing something that I always wanted to do in life. And I got the opportunity to do it. It was like, oh, well, he's going to leave or he's going to come back, with a bigger world view or a bigger mindset of different things. And it won't be so easy to control because once you get out in the world, your mindset expands. Your whole world, you just don't look at like little what's the word I'm looking for? Like, council in your place or municipality. That's the big word I was looking for. You start looking at, well, there's a state issue that I need to deal with. And, the trickle down thing. Well, if the federal government does this, what are the states going to do? And, and I come back with a bigger world view. And a lot of people who know me well. I spoke to Steve last night for a while. Poor Steve got so much of my clown. I'm surprised he's here today. But that's what I tell him, I want all the information now. Once I got out, it was like, I cannot get enough of it. I'm just so curious about. My mom used to tell me, "Michael, you're just too damn nosy. You don't need to worry about what them people's doing in Iraq." I was like, "Mom, I was there, I know what they're doing. It ain't good." And, but no, that's what I'm saying. You want to surround people who do not
Well,
or try to put you back.
Some people, whether in their family, and I think that's what hurts a lot, put partners to one side. Friends and family who know us so well, we do not expect to have it from them. And unfortunately it does. And I'm just going to describe a bit here. It doesn't manipulation or emotional manipulation. This is how it goes, right? Because what happens when someone goes along with being manipulated? Now, in a normal society, boy meets girl, girl meets girl, boy meets boy, etc., etc.
Yeah, 2026, we don't judge.
Exactly. So someone and they're in a relationship, they go out with their friends, they go out for dinner with their friends come in for dinner, they go to the cinema, they go to the movies, they go whatever. It's a normal thing to do, right?
Absolutely.
But then you meet somebody who's like, I don't want to meet with your friends. They're not my type of person. They're not the sort of people I want to meet with. If you want to meet them, yeah, you can go on. And then all the other stuff happens. That is not the healthy one. The one that's healthier says, yep, let's go out. Now, if those friends are toxic in any way, or, the partner that's come into life says, oh, I'm not really sure. It is down to the person, the friend, to actually perhaps have that conversation with the friend and say blah 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 blah, but not just cut them out, because the person doesn't know what they've done. So let me just bring this up. A manipulator, let's have a look at why the person goes along with the person, because this is the hardest part of it. Nobody wakes up and goes, do you know what, today I'm going to abandon all my friends. I'm going to get rid of everyone, because it happens in layers. In the beginning, you meet someone, it feels like devotion. You want to spend so much time together. You can't get enough of each other. You cancel plans occasionally to be with them. You choose them more often. You prioritize the relationship, and that's normal. That's how it should be. That's the honeymoon period, right? Until it slowly stops being a choice. So you start noticing that if you're talking to your friend on the phone, or the friend's coming round, or you're going out with the friends for a girls' night down the pub or a bar or wherever it is, you start getting tension. They start giving you grief, or they start to be and then your nervous system starts to go, hang on a minute, I really like this person. They've given me so much love and all the good things. And now all of a sudden I'm starting to get all this stress, and oh my God, I love them. I don't want to lose them. So harmony lives in compliance. If you agree with them and you don't upset them, you get harmony. You're not choosing them over friends. You're eventually choosing the feeling they give you and the calm over conflict. So what you're actually choosing is that feeling. I want more of that feeling. I'm hungry for it. I want more and more and more. And so what happens is guilt starts to come in. Like, you know, you meet this person, they're everything you ever wanted. Oh my God, you know, it's amazing. And then it's like your friends may put that doubt in your mind. Are you sure about this? What's a bit? You're a bit seeing each other all the time, aren't you? What's all this about? You know, who is this person? Let me check them out on Facebook. Or, you know, have you done a background check on this person? Do you know anything about this person? Blah, 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 right? All this kind of stuff. And then you start hearing is, well, I guess they matter more to you than I do. Or, well, I just miss the way you used to be. And so what happens is very slowly the person starts to drop out, back off, stop doing things. And that is not what's healthy. What's healthy is to say, I have a strong circle of friends. They mean something to me. Their input in my life is important. I love them, and love me. You'll accept them as part of my life. Now, if those friends cause a problem, it's down for you as the friend to deal with that face to face, not by just cutting them off, because otherwise you shrink and become a very different person. And this is why I'm saying, you know, as a friend looking on, or, you know, when someone is chosen over your friendship, you have to go, well, guess my friendship didn't mean that much. Maybe it did for that period of time, but now they don't need you because they've got someone else to make them feel brilliant. So at the end of the day, what happens when that person, if that person stops making them feel brilliant? They got nothing anymore. And Michael, we've looked at the friends and we've looked at some of family. Let's look at the partners before we close this subject down, because you've had manipulative partners, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And give us an example of what you used to have on a regular basis.
Oh, Lord, we ain't got that much time. No, I had one. She's like, oh, if, you know, and I was working. Oh, if you go out, I just go find somebody. I was like, and finally it got to the point where it was like, I can go find them. You know, if they can put up with you, you know, more power to them. But it was just like, well, if you do that, we're not going to have a good night. And it was put out like, you know, if you do this, we're not going to have a good night. Or another one will. Well, if you do that, I will be so pissed. And finally I told her, I was like, God damn, you're more pissed than you're happy. Pissed is our new normal. You know what I'm saying? I said, if you show up happy, I think I've done something wrong, then you're plotting on me. And it's like, I had one like, I dare you get a dog. You know I don't like dogs. You know what? Kept the dog, got rid of her. And that's what I tell people. If you want a true friend in life, get a puppy. Wendy's got a puppy. Look at her. Look at the smile on her face. I got 2 big old puppies. And I'm like, so yeah, they don't disappoint.
They didn't want you to have a dog.
No, and you know, I'm and everybody knows how much I love my pets, the birds, and you know, the puppies and all that. You know, I run my pack and my flock very well here. So Wendy knows how close I am with. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I went and bought a pit puppy. Them things are vicious. Oh no. You know, kids will never be around them. I was like, well, okay, keep them in the other room. I need a puppy. Well, you know, some people are just, and I've always had a dog. And I thought, I'm a grown ass man. I refuse to let somebody tell me that I can or cannot have a dog. You know, I've got one mom. And, you know, even my mom, you know, she would have never told me, hey, Michael, you can't get a dog. You know, well, who's going to look after it? I want to look after it. It's my dog. You know, it's like, you know, that's Michael's dog. Michael's going to look at it. You know, I know how to feed and water it. But yeah, the big one was like either after. And I know sometimes when you make big purchases, it is polite to ask the other person, hey, do you think we can swing this? Or do you think this will be a financial burden on our family? I remember, and I had mentioned it 2 or 3 times. I'm like, trucks give me a lot of problems. I think we're going to start looking. So I went and got a really good deal. All my money. She wasn't working. And I bought a truck. And she's like, well, you're going to take that back. I just don't like that. I'm thinking, I need this to make money. You know, you're enjoying it, all the benefits of it. How are you going to tell me that I need to take it back? And, oh, yeah. It's like, oh, well, Well, I'm not going to ride in it. Well, okay, don't. I'll find somebody to sit in the other seat that will. And I did. But that's, you know what I'm saying? Finally, like I said, yeah.
It's interesting you bring up about the dog, because when I had Henry, my partner at the time, who actually was with me when I got him, never actually wanted him. Never actually wanted him at all. And in fact, would make my life miserable as hell, because apparently the dog made their life as miserable as hell. And it'd be like, I had to take second place to children. I had to take second place to someone else's family. And now I've got to take, meaning the previous partner, not me. And now with you, I've got to take second best to the dog. Why would a secure person ever feel like that? Because at the end of the day, it is an innocent animal. And if you're that insecure over an animal, you have a serious problem.
It's, you know, I always think, I said, you know, it's one thing that if I don't like you, but if my dog don't like you, you're probably not going to have a good time here. Dogs are a very good judge of characters.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm saying. And it's, both of them are, you know, I'll give them the pep talk. I'm like, don't bark. Yeah, be quiet for 2 hours. Go down on the couch. Take a nap. That's what y'all do well. They are. And you know what? She's seen how I wake up in the morning. Most times there's one laying across my leg and one laying on my shoulder. Then the other morning.
And sometimes it's safer.
It is. And it's like, except for when you got a big old basset that wants to sleep on your head and going to smother you under a fat roll. But no, it's like, holy hell. It's like, yeah, they are more loyal. And they actually give a shit if you feel bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even choosing a pet, you choose them. I know both of mine here are rescues, and it seems like they're more appreciative. But when you go look for a pet, do you choose a pet that has your personality? Or do you find, or if you got a domineering personality, do you look for something that is more subservient? Or do you look for something that's going to match your energy? And, you know, that's something that's like, when we look for friends, do we look for somebody that we can manipulate easily? Or do we look for somebody that's going to complement our fuckery that we're out and about doing? You know, I don't want somebody that's going to just be like, okay.
The thing is, Michael, you probably agree with this. When somebody meets you, they like you for who you are. They fall in love with who you are, right? Hand waving here. But they fall in love with who you are.
Quotation marks here, right? You know, the big...
And then what happens is they start to change you. Now, I'm not saying that relationships, you don't compromise, you don't blend, you don't become, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. That's normal. But it's like they start to, it's us or them, right? It's like they just don't understand us. It's just you and me. Sometimes you meet these couples that just need each other, right? They just need each other. They don't have anybody else. Well, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. But if they got rid of all their friends when they used to love having them in their life, or they needed them or enjoyed having them in their life, that's something I have to question, because no healthy friendship, no healthy relationship would ever think about destroying someone's future relationship just because they've met someone and they're happy. Let's look at it from the friend's point of view. So you've met your friends, met someone, they've fallen in love, they're with them all the time, they see them all the time, they're talking to them all the time, and you just feel left out. Well, that's normal, because that's what happens in the beginning of relationships. And when you see them, all they talk about is them, or they talk about how wonderful it is, their sex is amazing, I've never felt like this before, or you'll talk about the problems they've got or the issues. That's what you need your friends for. You need your friends to be your pillow.
Sounding board. Yeah, your sounding board. Yeah. So you can unload off, and
it helps you, give you that healthy, if it's a healthy friendship, that healthy, you know, all around image of it. But the thing is, I think that well, I remember when I was in that relationship with the toxic one, I remember talking to my friends when things got so bad about the arguments, the fights, and in the end my friends would be like, again, really, another one? And in the end I stopped talking about it, and silence protects that person. Silence protects the relationship, but it removes your support because you're not talking to them, because your friends start to roll their eyes and go, why are you still with this person? I would question anyone that if you suddenly decide to, give up everything and never speak to people again, move away from everything, change your numbers, become a completely different person to who you've ever been. I'd either say there's mind control, lobotomy, or there's manipulation going on, because I know when you know that person inside out, you know how they think, or at least you think you know how they think, right?
Yeah, but that takes back to like the one that you lost. There's an older lady that comes in and helps me here, and she said her daughter was stigmatized, and I said she was what? She said she don't act like the same person. This man came into her life and basically hypnotized her, and and she's upper 60s anyway. But when she said that, I spit my coffee out on the phone. I'm like, she got a what? And she's like, oh yeah, she's stigmatized by this man. I'm like, okay, I don't know how I do that, but if he'd write a book, I'd buy it, because most of the time, and which they are a lot of controlling men and women, where it's coming from either side, the person who does an asshole. You should not try to manipulate or be such a narcissist that you have to have that kind of control.
Mm.
But when I heard that, I'm thinking, what if this man gives tips? But because I've always said men are pretty mind control. Oh yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, mind control. That's what it is. I guess that's the reason they can't control men. I don't have much mind. So
but
much control here.
When you meet someone and you fall in love, it's natural to spend all the time with them. It's natural to be obsessed with them and besotted. That's a normal, healthy relationship.
Something new.
But giving up all your friends, changing your number, changing where you live, cutting everybody else off, that is not a sign of a healthy relationship. No. Because you shouldn't need to do that. You should be able to have your happy ever after and your friends as well.
But here's what I saw, kind of being devil's advocate on that. I have seen a lot of women sabotage a relationship that a woman has with a new partner because they're jealous. They don't have it. And if she's not happy, anybody in the friend group that gets a man or woman or whatever, whatever your preference is, this one friend that's going to probably die, that's a lonely old person who either collects cats, dogs, or creatures that cannot get away. They're always like, I don't know how you with them for. They're no good for you. But what it is, they're so miserable in their own existence that when somebody new comes into one of their friends' life, this person's going to turn them down. They're going to undercut them off at the knees. They're going to try to talk them down. Well, he could do better, or she could do better. Or, what do you mean they didn't take you out this week? Oh, did he buy you a new blouse? But I have seen that one person, the old hag, that's probably going to die alone and be eaten by her cats or dog or whatever animal choice, because they always seem like they collect animals that cannot get away. It's kind of they used to call them a cat, but no, probably a iguana or some shit. But I'm thinking, why would they do? Why would you? If I see my friend happy with a boy or a girl, whatever. Or, if he dresses up as a furry and he finds another furry that tickles him with the whatever, that's what I told people. I really don't care. What's your thing? You can dress up like a chicken. But I'm saying, I want to say, well, he's letting his freak flag fly. He's found somebody that compliments his, his debauchery. I want to wear it out. I'm going to say, you go, guy. But I have seen people's like, well, damn, he brought all the beer to the bonfire. We got to put an end to that. He's spending all his money on her.
Let's look at the other one before we end, which is your partner, because we're looking at they chose them. So your partner leaves you for somebody else, or
marital infidelity. That's a big one.
And literally, you are flabbergasted because you didn't know it was coming. It all happened really, really quickly, really, really quietly. Before you know it, they've gone. And you're like, why did they choose them? That is a whole different subject and a whole different podcast.
Come on here.
we would look at. We're looking at, family when basically you think you know your family, but then they use manipulative terms and to make you question yourself, to bring you down, to make you feel small, to make you feel like a bad version of yourself. If your friends are doing that to you, that isn't a very healthy friendship. But if your friends are not doing that, if your family are not doing that, that's very much a healthy sign. We're talking about somebody that they chose someone to, and like, for instance, let's look at a family member. Their mum meets somebody, and the next thing you know, the mum's spending all their time with the new partner. Kids aren't seeing mum as much, and the next thing you know, if there's not a dad around, the kids are spending loads of time on their own. They're like, why are you always with that guy? Like, or why is he always around here? What is going on? I think a lot of people get, they have this need inside of them, and we all do, to be fair, we all do, but they have this need inside where they've got to have that, someone's got to make them feel better and fill it up. And that's always a problem in my book, because
we never put nobody over your kids.
Should never put anyone over your children, the fur baby, the friendship, whatever, because in the most dangerous thing in a relationship is not shouting, it isn't fights, it's not threats, it's not ultimatums, it's a slow drip where your world gets smaller and smaller, and you don't even notice it's happening, where your friends become problems, independence becomes distance, and loyalty gets measured by how much of yourself you're willing to give up. No one ever says to you, leave your friends, don't be friends with them anymore. Instead, if you're in a relationship where your partner turns around and says, if when you see your friends, you start getting tension, you start having arguments, and if the relationship doesn't feel good, it makes you think, hang on a minute, I really love this person, but I also want my friends. But seeing my friends, it makes this person become that way. So what happens is you have to weigh up your love for yourself, actually, not just your friends and your partner, for yourself. Weigh up yourself. Instead, love sometimes becomes easier when we do what somebody wants us to do, but safety that costs you your voice, your people, your support, it doesn't replace it. And you should always ask about a relationship, Michael. What does this love bring me? Is it growing me? Or is it asking me to disappear? And I heard a comment from someone this afternoon that said to me about what we were talking about. And they were like, but hey, wicked women don't vanish,
No.
We stand our ground, we keep our people, and we refuse to trade belonging for approval. And I was like, do you know what? I quite like that. Wicked women don't vanish to be loved. We stand in our power. I like that.
Absolutely. And that's like what I said earlier, I see the people loading up into the comments, and our little wicked family, they appreciate us for who we are, with their ups or downs.
Sure.
And we know a lot of them, out and from in front of the mic or in front of the camera, and they accept us for all of our flaws as their good qualities. And anybody who says I don't have a flaw, they're a liar. And as KB would say, the devil's a liar. Look at this. And it is, and it's, I know that I'm not always, 100%. I put all the effort I have into it, but with health issues and different things, some days I just cannot bring them. And sometimes I drink too much coffee and have to say, hold on a second, I'll be right back. But the coffee gives me my caffeine height.
Oh.
And if it wasn't for that, I'd be here, y'all be listening to Wendy talking, I'd be over here asleep going, because we got to have our coffee. And
that's a good point, though, that you bring up. And also, when you went, just before you went out, I was looking at, and Steve brings up, please accept my flaws. It's a very good comment, because, Michael, you should never have to prove your love to somebody.
Oh, absolutely not.
You should never have to, or prove you love me. It's either me or them,
what is the best one? The best one I've ever heard is, "You'll do it if you love me." That shit. You buy me this if you love me. This person.
Yeah. If you really loved me, you would. Really?
That's it.
The other thing is, one thing I want to mention here, and on my notes says, love doesn't need isolation to survive. It doesn't fear your friendships, and it doesn't ask you to shrink. Because the moment someone says you only need me or you only need us and asks you to stand alone, that isn't devotion, that's domination.
Absolutely. And hey, if you're into being dominant or being dominated,
that's a whole new show, Mike.
That is, but like I said, I pass your bag, baby. And like I said, some men like I said, controlling women. Some men need that. Well, here's your lunchbox. Here's your socks and underwear. Here's your car keys. Here's your wallet. Don't forget your phone. And like you said, that's another whole different show. And I need to hear about it. Now, if y'all want to hear about the domaneering show of the dominators,
done that one. The thing is, Michael, as the friend from the other side, is that one day you will wake up, and the people who did know you and were always there for you and had your back, and the people that saw you through the tough times before this relationship, they'll be gone. And all that's left is the person who's asked you to prove your love or choose them. And that's a terrible thing to do. And I think women, we have been in so many ways manipulated over the years by culture, politics, religion, how people have seen us. I think you have to stand in your power, and you have to use your voice, and you have your boundaries. And if you're out there listening to this tonight, and you are in a situation, in a relationship with someone who is asking you to do this, or is giving you these examples, this is your red flag warning that this is not good. This is your red flag warning to say, hang on a minute, because actually, it is a red flag. And if you stopped for a minute and took yourself out of the situation and looked at it from a third person who has nothing to gain or lose from the situation, I think you might, but sometimes people are so happy. And there's nothing wrong with being in a good, healthy relationship and having loads of time together and being lost in each other. Nothing wrong with that, Michael. It's the other one where you have to give up everything to achieve it.
That's the one thing I saw about my friend. When he got married, I can remember his anniversary because he got married on Christmas, which makes it smart move on his part. You never forget your anniversary. But, I have seen them grow together, and we're getting older together. They bought their house together, and I go down and see it. And, I'm not the type of friend who is jealous of the relationship that he built with his wife and the home they put together. And it is a home. And they drove over the road in a truck for years. And if two people can live in a truck and be over the road truck drivers for as long as they did it, it's meant to be. And I'm like, and everybody's like, oh, don't you miss hanging out with your buddy? I said, no, just hang out with both of them. And I wish I got to spend more time with them because, I really enjoy spending time with them. It wasn't like I lost a friend. It's almost like I gained another friend because she's always good to me. And, that makes me feel good because I'm happy for him. But that goes back to what I said. A lot of times, especially in female pairing groups, if one friend who sees the other friend like really happy, they get jealous. And once they get jealous, they start thinking of ways to sabotage or torpedo the relationship that the other friend has because she wants misery, loves company.
Well, there are some friends, you're quite right. There are some friends that are jealous and will try and sabotage your relationship. They absolutely will. And if you look at that side for a minute, they will sabotage it. They'll run down your partner
every time.
Yeah, he's not as good looking as the last one, or
and say that shit right in front of them. Yeah, and it's like, but that's the same friend. If the shoe was on the other foot and you was doing it to that, and they found somebody in their life that made them happy, they'd be like, "Bitch, I dare you," whatever. And it'd be like, and it'd be a damn cat fight. And I saw that. I can't do that. I'm too
cool.
But anyway, and But no, I have seen this. They're like, this one, and the ones that usually do it go through many, many partners.
Yeah.
And it's like, my mom used to call it dick of the day. Oh, they fell in love for the 14th time on Facebook this month, and it's only the third,
Yeah,
and it's like, holy shit. And but quick as they's like, oh, are you sure this is the one? Oh, you need to stay in your lane. You need to stay the hell out of mine. But that is the first bitch that's going to pull up, right? And they look for cracks in the relationship. But they're mad. He didn't take his boots off, or he went in on the floor. She mopped. By God, if he was my man, I wouldn't let that happen. Let me tell you what I do. And and the only advice they give is bad. And I always tell these people, if you got a friend like that, do the opposite. If they tell you to go run around the yard, stay in the fucking house. They're going to get hit by a rock. But no, these people are crazy.
It's an. I hope whenever we do a show, we always know that somebody somewhere will, whether they watch this today, tomorrow, in a year's time, hopefully it makes a difference. Someone can listen to it and it will help them. And as we end this show and start to look at other things, I just want to say, if love really costs you your voice, your people, or your freedom, it isn't love. It isn't love. And also just remember, wicked women never ever trade themselves, ever. They are the strong, independent, beautiful women they've always been, right? We hope
to open doors and pull out chairs,
or wicked women up to that point as well. It's an interesting show, Michael. As usual, you are the most amazing host with me, and we just before we end the show, there's a couple of things I want to bring up. Notices there may be a show on Saturday next week. It potentially may not be Sunday because I have a lot to do. So it may be the fact that Saturday's easier to do than Sunday. So just keep an eye, weather die out, and you'll see it. We do have a really good show coming up next week, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. And look out for the. I don't want to say too much about it because I just want to sort of leave it into. Oh, look, you know what it's going to be, but it's a really good show. We are doing changes to Wicked Women, and they are. We've had time to sort of have a look at everything, and I really feel that it's time to change Wicked Women. We started off with a very good and it will still be exactly the same in a way show, but there are changes coming in to Wicked Women, including the name. So there are lots of changes coming in for the show, although we'll always be Wicked Women, of course, but I think we want to sort of look at things and go in a few different directions. And plus you'll see different titles, different music, and very much a different way, but we'll still be the same great people that you love to watch. But I think it's time that everybody and everything has to have an upgrade and change, and I think it's time that we do that as well. So some of the things we're trying out and doing is all things that are coming, so just keep a weathered eye out for that as well. And it's good, Michael, it's good to have an upgrade, right?
It is. She's, just so you know, she's trying to trade me in for like a Brad Pitt or Russell, what's his name? Russell Brand. Yeah, you turned in next Sunday to be Russell Brand sitting here.
Russell Crowe might be good, but not that I've got any chance of that happening, sadly.
The Gladiator one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I seen him the other day. He's old and fat. That's the guy my boyish.
Listen, he might have a little bit more around the old waist.
Oh, he's got quite a bit more. He's
still Maximus.
Mm-hmm. But no, it's and I don't know about some people, but please like, share,
bring this up so people can see. This is just some of the things that we're changing, and it's just we're just doing little bits at the time because obviously like I'm trying to get myself to Canada, and also like life has been crazy busy for us all, and also obviously this week I've had 2 podcast shows to do, and my voice is going no, don't like you. Don't do 2 shows. But I've really enjoyed it. You know, we've been doing Wicked Women for 3 years now. We've had some amazing people come and join us on Wicked Women, some great ladies who have given their voice and their comments over time. We've had some great guys come in and join us over time, but it's time to overhaul it and sort of have a look at it. So it may change to what you're used to. It may not, but you know, we're doing it bit by bit. So please bear with us.
Upwards, because you know you got to find your niche, and that's like Paul was saying. You know, you got to keep moving around. Because 3 years, got 100 some subscribers. I had 500 likes on my Facebook because I was linked to my Facebook. I'm thinking if I could get the people from Facebook over to YouTube, so I can get it monetized for Wendy. That way, you know, you upgrade your mics, you upgrade your cameras. StreamYard is not free, you know, and the ones who's like, oh, join my Patreon for a cup of coffee. You can hang out with me. And I'm not that arrogant, people, but any help that people give, you know, share, like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell people you don't know. You can ask Wendy, I'll go to the bus stop and be like, hey, Wicked Women at Triple Eight.
You're going to watch it.
You know, grocery store, convenience store.
And we are growing, and you know, we're still learning and growing as we go along. But if you could like, share, and subscribe, the channel will remain the same. The channel will remain the same. It will be like a lot of things underneath it. You'll have Wicked Women was obviously the brand, and underneath there'll be different things as well. But I think you'll see a lot of different pictures, a lot of different stuff going on, because you know, you can't stay the same forever. And I've been saying for a long time now, we have to update Wicked Women, we have to change it, we have to, you know, keep it fresh. And I think, you know, all of us that are on and have been on Wicked Women have got to take that to heart. You've got to change. You've got to, you know, you've got to, because otherwise it stays the same, right?
You get left behind either after you die. And I saw one of the first ones of that because I let it play in the background. You know, sometimes you got to play the algorithm. And I thought, Jesus Christ, we have changed in 3 years. I'm not going to say we look more mature, more grown up, but
I think we flow better, definitely.
You know, and it is a learning curve, and that's one of the benefits of YouTube. I still need to look at Rumble and some of the other stuff, and try to do more. Now that my health is getting better, I want to do more other than just, you know, trip strangers and say, hey, I'm not going to let you up until you like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, like you're not leaving the room until you absolutely do it. And I think that when we began,
I'll hold their ass hostage. I don't care.
When we began, like Wicked Women, we wanted a safe space it was for women, and also women could talk about subjects.
Yeah.
But as time's gone on, more guys have joined us, and I think it's only right to sort of update that and start to look at other ways as well. So I think it's a good thing. And sometimes, you know, change is as good as the rest. But we'll still be fabulous. We'll still be here. We'll still be the you know, your hosts, and hopefully you'll come back and join us and like, share, and subscribe. Right?
That's it. And anybody who's watching on my Facebook, just click over, just go over and hit that like button. And you know, I appreciate everybody who does watch it on my Facebook or Wendy's or Valerie's or anybody who shares Wicked Women, because you know that means a lot. But right now, we really, really need to push for the YouTube, because the Facebook ain't going to monetize nobody.
No.
They basically get it for free. And
you just want more people to see it, because you want to like help other people, right? The bigger it is, the more you get your messages out. And we also want to do different subjects as well. And there are some things we have to be careful what we talk about on YouTube. And that's why another thing we are looking at.
Or even in the country that Wendy's coming from now.
The Rumble, of course. Yes.
And I'll tell people that. And as like I spoke to Steve last night, I said, some people who has been on with Wendy has got a little careless. I said, and now if the old bill shows up to her door for something that somebody has said, there will be an international incident. They think what's going on now is bad. I said, you know, the only time I ever talk myself down, I'm not worried about my physical safety or the repercussions on me. I worry about if I say something out of pocket that's going to get Wendy in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they would really, really hate to deal with that.
And we've always made sure that everybody that comes on or leaves a comment or whatever, obviously there are people that are going to leave negative comments from time to time.
Someone's going to take a
We
piss.
prefer to leave, if you don't like us or you don't want to leave a good comment, don't leave one. Just don't leave one. But,
Yeah.
you know, it means a lot when people leave positive comments and we get feedback, and it wanted to be a safe space where everybody could come and talk and feel like they're part of the crew. So
is the exchange of ideas. And if you're always taking a shit on somebody who has a different opinion, you know, I never understood debate club in high school. I thought you settled debates with your fist. But no, you know, sometimes you got to sit down and you know, just talk things out. And like we've said before, communication is key. Friendships, relationships.
Absolutely.
Or just, you know, when you go through life in a daily basis, if you're a shitty communicator, you're probably not going to have that good of a time. You're out. But to anybody, you know, same way, you know, if you can't communicate to the woman at McDonald's when you're ordering your fries, you don't know what the hell you want.
But I also think as well, like, you know, as we finish, is that I think Wicked Women, as I said, was great for how we started out, but I think it's time to look at where we go, and so that's something that you will see coming up in the next couple of weeks to a month. Right, Michael, I don't know about you, but it's like 20 to 11. I have things to do, and I must away to my bed. But I hope it's been a great show. Thank you so much for being such a great co-host with me.
Anytime. You know, like I said, my weeks go from Sunday to Sunday. I start and finish with you know, a bit of Wicked. And like I said, I appreciate everybody who tunes in or watches us later. You know, it makes my heart. So, you know, and
we are so grateful and blessed to have such great people watch us.
And next week, either Saturday or Sunday, whenever she tells me to be here, I'll be here. And I think it'll be a great show. She ain't giving it away yet, so I won't, because I do not want to be in trouble, because I do not choose that ass whipping or chewing. Sure. But trust me, it will be a different show, and it will be very entertaining.
It would be fantastic. And as I say, look out for this week. We will put it out, and you know, it will be a great show. We have a great person joining us. You know, I mean, all of our guests, Mark and Paul, absolutely.
And Dwight.
So enjoyed that shows.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, we started out crawl, walk, run. Now we're starting to get into our walking phase. You know, we crawled for 3 years,
and you guys have grown along with us as well, which is, you know,
and it's fabulous that people have.
You're doing fabulous too, Michael. I mean, you really have. You've come on in leaps and bounds, and I think you look fabulous tonight. You look very, very sexy, darling. Very, very, you know,
very dapper. Mm-hmm. I'm a dapper Dan, man.
Anyway, guys,
brother, I have one other quote for people who don't get it.
I've got to find the music to take us out. So yes, at the moment, as I said, we're a little bit this, a little bit that, a little bit the other. Look out for the new changes, and you can find us on Wicked Women AAA on YouTube
and Facebook
and Instagram. That's where you can find us.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for the music now. Thank you so everybody for joining us. What can I do to play us out that's slightly different? Let's see, sort of the usual music. I might go back to the original of when we started at Wicked Women, the music that used to see us in, as normally we go out with one set music, but I think I might just put this one on for old time's sake, because, you know, there's nothing wrong with looking back with the good old days. And as I say, 3 years.
Reminiscing. Memory. Yeah, memories.
I have one here, and literally I'm going to play it. It will just be interesting for people to see some of the women that have been a part of our show and played a part, and we're very grateful for the part they have played. Michael, love you lots. Talk to you later. And everybody have a fantastic week, a safe week, a healthy week, and look out for the notices. It will either be Saturday or Sunday of next week. Keep an eye out of it, and in the meantime, just fabulous and stay wicked. Bye.